Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning and evening prayer, what we know as the daily office lectionary. And we're going to get right back to that now here on Monday morning. On Sunday, of course, we deviated. We took a look at the collect. And I do want to point out that we actually missed a feast day yesterday because it fell on a Sunday. And when I say I miss it, when we took it, what's called the table of precedence, no Saints' Day can bump the observance of the 4 Sundays in Advent. So in other words, we couldn't do a Saints' Day instead of the Sunday that's appointed. So who did we miss yesterday? We missed St. Nicholas's Day, December 6th. Interestingly, it's St. Nicholas's Day was the 162nd anniversary of the first meeting of Henry Porter Baldwin and his neighbors to form what would become St. John's Church. They met on St. Nicholas Day, then St. Lucy's Day, and then, which is the 13th of December, next week. And then they met on the 27th of December to sign the letters of incorporation. And because the 27th is the Feast of St. John, they chose St. John's Church. So that's all very good. So that's important for us to know historically. But of course, it's also important because they're coming up on Christmas time. And St. Nicholas is the person who is used for the example of what we know as Santa Claus. The historical St. Nicholas was a bishop, and he was present at the Council of Nicaea. And in addition to the stories of him helping women who couldn't afford a dowry to get married by throwing coins into their stockings or down the chimney or whatever the various versions of the story is, he's also famous for having slapped a heretic. When he was at the Council of Nicaea, Arius, the heretic, was trying to put forward a doctrine of Jesus that was not true about his divinity and his humanity. And St. Nicholas is said to have gotten so angry that he slapped St. Arius for being a heretic and for saying something wrong and bad about Jesus. So I don't think any of us for Christmas want a slap in the mouth. So let's make sure we have right doctrine about Jesus. He is both God and man, right? They're the same substance. Not a like substance, but the same substance as the Father. That's what the argument was about. But anyway, jumping back into St. Mark's Gospel, we now go up to the end of chapter 2 and into chapter 3, and we hear this at the beginning of chapter 3. And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had a withered hand. And they watched him whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. And he said unto the man which had the withered hand, Stand forth. And he said unto him, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath day, or to do evil, to save life or to kill? But they held their peace. And when he looked around about them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, and he saith unto the man, Stretch forth thy hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And the Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. So we're already in chapter 3. They're looking for a way to do away with Jesus because he's trouble. Well, why is he trouble? Well, because he's threatening their power base. They feel that the Sabbath day is a holy day, which of course it is. We know it's one of the 10 commandments. But Jesus asks a tough question. He says, look, is it right to heal on the Sabbath day? I know you guys have made all sorts of rules. You've piled all sorts of things on top of the rules about the Sabbath, rule upon rule upon rule. And if you know now with our Jewish friends, if they are Orthodox observant Jews, they've got all sorts of rules about they can't turn on the stove, but they can hire a neighbor boy to come over and turn the stove on, or a neighbor girl. They can't use an elevator. They can't show their ID in a college dormitory. I remember this, we found this out when I lived at the University of Pennsylvania. So there's all these sort of rules that have been piled on top to get, and it's unfortunately with these extra rules upon rules upon rules, you can lose sight, as Jesus points out, of the forest from the trees. And that is, the Sabbath was made in order to help us to glorify God, to help us to worship God, to help us to be recreated into God's image, not as some sort of punishment. And if there's a man who needs a healing, then for the love of God, it is okay to heal on the Sabbath day. And remember we said in Matthew's gospel where he got on the same leaders because he said, look, if you have a horse or a cow that falls into a ditch on the Sabbath day, you'll rescue him, won't you? And in order to keep the law, they'll circumcise on the 8th day, even if it's a Sabbath day, right? He said, I'm making a man whole. I'm healing somebody. Let's get with this, folks. Let's get with the program. And he is grieved at the hardness of their hearts, so much so, as we hear, that the Pharisees get together with the Herodians and they decide that they're going to find a way to do away with Jesus. So certainly we want to make sure that we're on the track to realize that our religious observance is to glorify God. It doesn't mean that we need to disregard all the rules. There are things that God wants us to do and not do, and there's ways that he wants us to live. But let's make sure that they're in fact how God would have us live and not man-made things that are distracting us and keeping us from the good work that he has us to do. So brothers and sisters, I hope you have a wonderful Monday, and may God bless you.